So I thought I'd just make a short video just to explain how the combat table works in the Limits of Glory series. It's the same principle in all the games. They all have a similar combat table. And combat is really about managing glory. The whole game, Limits of Glory, the series, is all about how you use your commander's glory. As a player, you're the theatre commander, and you're managing your assets, your troops and your commanders, making sure you've got the best commander for the job in the right place. Commanders, when they're placed on the map, calculate how much glory they have, and this is a reflection of how skillful they were judged to be historically, and also how lucky they were judged to be historically, because the game is all about looking at how you can mitigate luck. Whatever happens, whatever luck throws up, you can use skill to mitigate that. That's what we're trying to investigate with the game, really. So glory is a rating that you calculate when the commander's first placed. For example, here Abercrombie, the British commander, his rating is 9 plus 3d6. So when he's placed on the map, you'd roll 3d6, sum the score, and then add 9 to it. And then one marker would be placed on the glory track, marking how much glory he's got. Let's say he had 13, and the other marker is placed on the board on the map to show where he actually physically is on the map. So that's how you calculate the glory. So in this example, we're gonna look at a combat. Let's say the Battle of the Nile's already occurred. Murad Bey has escaped up the Nile, and Desaix is pursuing him. So Murad, he's got 5 Mameluke cavalry with him and 4 infantry, and Desaix's been dispatched after him with 2 French infantry. Murad's already been using some of the glory that he had. He doesn't start with very much. He's already fought a battle with Bonaparte, and he's now down to 4 glory left. Whereas Desaix is still quite fresh and comes with lots of glory, so he's at 37. So the way a combat would work is you work out the total combat value of your army. Now the French, they've got 2 infantry. Each infantry is worth 1. So that he would have a total combat value of 2. So the French marker, you look down to find the row that corresponds to your forces. So it's French with a commander and combat value between 1 and 3. So he's placed in that box there. Murad's got 5 cavalry. Each cavalry is worth 2, so that's worth 10 combat value, plus the 4 infantry, so 10 and 4 is 14. So he'd be between 11 and 15. And we come down until we get to Mameluke commander. So he'd be in that box there. So the large number in the box for the French 14 and for the Mamelukes 15, that shows the number that needs to be scored on the 4 combat dice before any hits count. In Limits of Glory, there's just one mechanic that does everything. Basically, a 5 or a 6 is a success, and a 1 to 4 is a failure. And that goes for everything from movement and uprisings and combats and sieges. So to get hits on your opponent, you're looking for 5s and 6s, but the Mamelukes will have to score a total of 15 on their 4 dice before any 5 or 6s count, and the French would have to score 14. So let's roll and see what happens. French roll, Mamelukes. Right, so the French have rolled 15 and they've got a 5 and a 6. So at the moment they've got 2 hits. The Mamelukes have rolled 15 and they've got a 6. So again, that would be a hit. So both sides at the moment potentially are going to cause hits on their opponent. With Limits of Glory, you can always re-roll your own dice once. Each dice can be re-rolled once, costing 1 glory. So Desaix, who's desperate to try and destroy Murad, is going to re-roll these 2, which are going to cost him 2 glory. So he's at 37 at the moment. This is going to go down to 35 for the 2 dice he's re-rolling. Murad senses that he might be able to get some French here, so he's going to try. He's going to keep one of the 4s, even though that's not a hit, but that helps to get him over the 15 threshold. And he's going to try re-rolling these 2 dice here, again costing him 2 glory. So the other dice are left. These dice are re-rolled. So now the Mamelukes are scoring 16, above the 15, so 5s and 6s will be hits, and the French, they're at 18, so again, well above their 14, so their 5s and 6s are hits. So once you've re-rolled your own dice once, if you're sharing a space, which you have to be for a battle, you can get your opponent to re-roll their dice once each for each dice. So Murad, who's only got 2 glory left, has only got the possibility of getting 2 dice re-rolled. So he's going to ask Dessay to re-roll the 2 6s, which will take him down to exhausted. Dessay, he realises that the 5, each 5 that the Mamelukes hit, will score no hits anyway. So the 5 is actually not going to cause him a hit. So the only dice that worries him at the moment is this 6. So Dessay is going to spend 1 glory to get this 6 re-rolled. So now, let's put them like that. So the French are now scoring 13, and the Mamelukes are now scoring 14. So both of them are below the number needed to score any hits. So the French 6 and the French 5 have scored nothing because they're below the value that they needed for their hits to count. But the significant thing is now, Murad is now exhausted. He has no glory left, whereas Dessay still has 34. So this is a tie. There's been no hits on either side. So first of all, the attacker, who's the French have been chasing Murad and they've caught him. The attacker can decide if they want to withdraw or not, and they're going to decide not to. If the attacker doesn't withdraw, then the defender can withdraw, and Murad's going to decide that he will. You can break off to one space, or you can break off to several spaces. You don't have to go all in the same direction, but you can't break off to the space that you was attacked from. So Murad decides that he's going to send 2 Mameluke cavalry in one direction, and 3 Mameluke cavalry in the infantry with him are going to go in the other direction. He's doing this really just to try and make it more difficult for Dessay to track him down and wipe them all out. It's going to cause more problems for Dessay. So Murad's now moved off to one space, and he's got an army here of 3 cavalry and 4 infantry, and the other 2 cavalry have moved away and they're in a different direction at the moment. So let's say Dessay, he'd have to activate to be able to move. He'd have to activate the space that the combat took place in to be able to move out of it. And let's say he does that, and he then moves to follow Murad. So this time we've got a combat. We've got 3 cavalry, which would be 6, plus 4 infantry, which would be 10. So we've now gone down to 4 to 10. So Murad is now in this box here. Dessay is still in exactly the same box. He's got 2, 1 to 3. He's here. Murad is exhausted, but he's not killed or captured, so it still counts as a Mameluke commander. If there was no commander, then we'd be down in this box here, no allied commander. So even when a commander's exhausted, he can still help a little bit in a fight. So again, we'll roll again. 4 dice, it's always 4 dice for a combat. I'll put the dice out, let's have a look, see what we've got. So the French have scored 15. They only need 14. So as it stands, their 6 and their 5 is a hit. The Mamelukes have scored need 17, but they've only scored 8. Now the Mameluke Murad is exhausted, so he cannot re-roll any of these. So the best he's going to get is this 8. So he's effectively missed. Now Dessay doesn't have to worry anymore that he's going to be suffering any hits. Dessay's looked, he would get 3 hits for the 6 and 2 hits for the 5. So that would be 5 hits in total. But Murad has got 7 units with him. And Dessay really wants to try and finish him off. So he's going to spend 2 glory and go from 34 down to 32 and re-roll these 2 dice in the hope of getting another 5 or a 6. Oh, and he's done that. I think I knocked that one over, didn't I? So now he's got the original 5 and 6, and he's just re-rolled and got another 5 and 6. So he's actually getting 6 hits for the 6. the 6s give 3 hits each, so that's 6 hits in total, and the 5s give 2 hits each, so that's another 4. So he scored 10 hits. Murad, being exhausted, cannot ask him to re-roll any of these, and so Murad's going to suffer 10 hits. There's only 7 elements there, so they're all destroyed, and as Murad is now on his own without any military escort, he is also either killed or captured, but he's removed from the board. So that's the way a combat works. So whilst both commanders have glory, it's quite difficult to get an overwhelming victory. What you're trying to do is you're trying to grind down your opponent's glory. The Mamluks especially are going to find it very difficult to get casualties against the French, but it's possible, and they do it, especially early on when Murad might have 12 or 14 glory. But if they do score casualties, even if they're very high, even if it's got a huge army, 21 plus, and each 5 is only going to cause 1 French hit. So even if they can manage to score casualties, they don't score many. If Bonaparte turns up with his whole army, each 6 is going to cause 8 hits, and each 7 is going to cause 5 hits. So the French can make very short work of the Mamelukes if they can get the right rerolls on their glory. Sieges work in exactly the same principle as a combat. You'd roll on the siege part, so you get less casualties in sieges. The numbers are slightly lower. Mamelukes can't fight sieges. That's why there's no siege table in the Mameluke column. But the Ottomans can, and the British can, the French can. But you'll do exactly the same process. You roll to hit. You can re-roll any of your hit dice, and then you can get your opponent to re-roll any of their hit dice, each time using your glory. So the commanders you use to send on different missions and where you send commanders is really important, judging how much glory they've got and how you use it. So that's a brief overview of the combat table and how combat works. Hope that's made sense. Please feel free to join the Limits of Glory Facebook group. Thanks for watching.